Coming up on the Inside Indiana Business Television Podcast, what's the state of home building in central Indiana? The leader of the Idea Center at Notre Dame has a new gig. Our Endangered Indiana series revisits a historic location in Bedford. Ascend Indiana expands its online job network. We'll go inside a smart fitness studio in Indy. Big changes at a major college on the Ball State campus. Learn how Purdue is helping student athletes with name, image, and likeness. And an Indy high school student launches a Women in Business Club. Welcome to the Inside Indiana Business Television Podcast. I'm Alex Brown. Central Indiana's housing market continues at a red-hot pace, so too in many parts of the state, homes being gobbled up as soon as they hit the market, which has forced consumers to consider another option, building a new home. Compass of Indiana founding partner and broker Greg Cooper joined Gary Dick with more on why starting from the ground up also presents its share of challenges.
I mentioned off the top, most difficult and most rewarding time in the housing business for consumers to build homes in 20 years that you've seen. What do you mean by that?
Yes. Well, in past years, you went to a home builder. They set out your price. They set out your timeline. They gave you a list of options. You made your choices. You moved forward. You finished the home. You moved in, and everybody was really happy. But there is no such thing as a firm timeline, or in many cases, a firm price, because of the availability of products and services and things of that nature right now. So that's the challenge to it. The good news, the positivity, if you will, is that when consumers do go through that product and they are patient and get to the end, the finish line, they've got a wonderful end result. Despite the fact that there are some challenges along the way. And by the way, it provides them an alternative to making offers on 9 different homes that they never end up buying anyway. It allows them certainty that they don't have.
Very interesting. I'm going to ask your opinion on the outlook in a moment. But first, inventory has been tight for a long time. It remains tight. And at the beginning of the year, you're saying that's really what's pushed people to say, hey, I can't find a place that I like or that I want. I'm going to build new.
Yeah, even though you may not have certainty on your pricing or when exactly that new home might be finished in some cases, you do know what you're going to get and about how long, within a month or whatever it may be, of when you're going to get it. If you're out there making offers on 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 resale properties, I mean, the frustration and the emotional toil and all of that uncertainty, it's far less palpable and tolerable for consumers than actually sitting down with a home builder and saying, this is what I want, can you help me?
Hey, give us an idea, Greg. It's very difficult everywhere around the country because of the supply chain issues. But as you look here in central Indiana and around the state, what's that done? I know builders can't get product. They can't get what they need to build or to finish homes.
Right. Well, just imagine, if you will, hundreds and even thousands of pieces that would go into building a new home. Knobs for the cabinetry, a range hood mount for the microwave, a door jamb, all these different little components that go into homes, and the oddest things that aren't readily available, that builders can't get because they simply aren't available. So that's the challenge that builders have. And I've watched many a building supervisor this year literally want to bang their head against the wall because this process is so different than it used to be. And believe me, it's as frustrating for them as it is for consumers. And it is universal across the country right now. Indiana is not unique. We are very common to the way things are across the country.
Yeah, I see reports that garage doors taking 4 to 6 months to get and doubling in price. So some very severe conditions, to be sure. Greg, as you look at the landscape out there and where you see things going, I don't think anyone envisions the supply chain situation improving anytime soon. If folks are considering building a home right now, what should they think about for the rest of this year and next year?
Patience is incredibly important, and most of ours has worn thin through the quarantine and COVID and all of that is where we are in the world right now. But it will require a lot of that. You're going to need some flexibility on your current living situation because we're not exactly sure when you're going to get in your new living situation. And to that end, many people who had drawn lines in the sand as to when they had to be in certain places were forced into some temporary housing this year, some in hotels, some into some other forms of temporary housing. Imagine spending 4 months in a hotel after you're coming out of a rather nice home with pets and kids and everything else in tow. It's challenging.
Yeah, I want to ask you, too, about we're obviously seeing news of inflationary pressures impacting the economy. Mortgage rates have been so attractive for so long. A lot of folks anticipate those rates are going to be going up next year.
A lot of pressure on home mortgage rates, Gary, to go up. Certainly the inflationary factors, as you mentioned, that are out there. There's stories every day in the financial publications about how the federal government is going to begin to ease back some of that subsidy into the financial markets. And so we are likely, by every prediction, and inflation included, to see higher home mortgage rates in 2022. We don't believe we're going to see some eruption higher of rates, but I think that as we move through the year, 12 months from now, we're going to probably be between 4.5% and 5%. That's my crystal ball. Sometimes not perfect, but that's a common conception right now in the finance and home building industry.
Some great perspective, as always, on the housing industry, the market here in Indianapolis and around the state. Greg Cooper, as always, great to see you. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you, Gary.
Still to come, our Endangered Indiana series takes another look at the Monon Depot, and we'll look at the statewide expansion of an online job network. But first, since 2016, Brian Ritchie has led the University of Notre Dame's Idea Center, the collaborative innovation hub dedicated to helping students, faculty, and staff bring ideas and products to market. The Idea Center has been significant since its launch, and Ritchie talks about the success and his future plans while on the road in Iowa.
Yeah, we're going to break a little bit of news here because you've announced plans to leave. Now you know what you want to do, where you're going. Tell us what that next move is for you.
Well, I'm really excited that I'm going to take on the CEO role of one of our startups, Simba Chain. So I'll be transitioning into that role here very soon.
Yeah, and Simba Chain, we've had them on the show a number of times. Exciting company, blockchain development company that has really been hitting a lot of home runs.
Absolutely. We're really excited about what this could be. If you think about the picks and shovels of the blockchain revolution, the Web 3.0, I think Simba's going to lead that.
Yeah. Hey, Brian, take us back because you came to Notre Dame. It was a real coup for Notre Dame to get you to launch and lead the Innovation Center. What attracted you to Notre Dame 5 years ago, then 4 years for the Idea Center? What attracted you to Notre Dame?
Yeah, so I think I've always thought that universities should have a much bigger role in commercialization, a much bigger impact, but most universities haven't been willing to do that, and Notre Dame was. They were willing to let us think about some really revolutionary things like running a venture fund inside the university, really working process around commercialization, integrating the students and the education and the faculty. All of those things really attracted me to try to do something different and better, more impactful.
Well, you talk about impact. Talk about the number of companies that have been launched and those who have been helped by the fund. Talk about the impact over the last 4 years.
Oh, it's been tremendous. We have such a great team at the Idea Center, and they've launched 150 companies over this last 4 years. We've had about 42 of those get venture investing and creating a number of jobs, a number of interesting outcomes, and really helping to transform the ecosystem both in north central Indiana, but also throughout Indiana in general in terms of tech.
Yeah, Brian, there are so many companies, Flow Waste, and going down the list, a really diverse list of companies that have launched out of the Idea Center. Anyone that stands out to you, aside from Simba Chain?
Yeah, I was going to say Simba is certainly very exciting. But another one that's really exciting to us is Vital View. Just closed around. It's a technology, wireless technology that can sense the changes in vitals. So respiration, heart rate, water content. We think that congestive heart failure will be its first application. Very exciting new technology, and the company is really making progress.
Yeah, that is neat. Hey, Brian, final question for you. The impact of the Idea Center, you mentioned it earlier, but I'm interested in the impact for the entire state of Indiana, of the Idea Center, and also Notre Dame's re-engagement, I think, with the state of Indiana when it comes to economic development and innovation. I think it's significant. What's your take?
Yeah, no, it's hugely significant because, as you know, Gary, this is a flywheel. And getting this flywheel started, everything leads into the next thing. And so the more companies you can start, the more entrepreneurs it attracts, the more investors it attracts. Exits create value, create opportunities, and these things just build on themselves. So the more of these organizations that we can get involved in this effort, the better we're going to be. And I'm proud of what Notre Dame's done and what this team has done and where I think it can go from here.
All right. Brian Ritchie leaving as the head of the Idea Center at the University of Notre Dame. Brian, really appreciate you taking the time. Thanks for your efforts. I'm glad you're going to be staying with the company with roots here in Indiana. We'll talk to you soon.
That sounds great. Thanks, Gary. Appreciate it.
For 30 years, Indiana Landmarks has released an annual list of 10 historically significant places on the brink of extinction. To help bring attention to these historic Hoosier structures last year, we created a series called Endangered Indiana. After a tremendous response from viewers, we've decided to bring it back. This year features 6 new entries and 4 repeats from last year's list. Around Indiana reporter Mary Rachel Redmond joined us with more.
We kick off our Endangered Indiana series with a repeat from last year's list. 1221 J Street in Bedford, probably an address you've never heard of. But at one time in Hoosier history, it was a shining example of South Central Indiana's limestone legacy.
It may not look like much now, but when Bedford's Monon Station was built in 1926, it was a major player in growing Bedford's then booming economy into the limestone capital of the world.
This building really represents the heyday of Indiana's limestone production and freight transportation. It's an important part of the history of the community, the history of Indiana, and really the history of limestone in the United States.
Indiana limestone in and around Bedford is some of the finest in the country and even the world. Behind me is Empire Quarry. A lot of the limestone here was used to build the Empire State Building and other iconic American structures like the Pentagon.
We've got buildings that are famous throughout the world that were constructed of Indiana limestone. How many freight depots, passenger depots in Indiana, let alone in the country, are built of limestone and have a tile roof? For a building that was pretty much a utilitarian structure, but the beauty here is just remarkable.
What would this
This is the entryway for the public into the public waiting station.
The building also doubled as a passenger station for the Monon Railroad.
It was the main line in and out of Bedford for probably 50 to 75 years. Anybody that wanted to go to Chicago, this was an easy place to get on and take them right to downtown Chicago. Or if they wanted to go south to Louisville, it was the other way on the route. So it was a main conduit when roads weren't very good of getting to where the major cities were.
This is the baggage door.
And Indiana Trails President Richard Vonnegut says he wants to see Monon Station used as a connector to major cities again, only this time by bike.
What I'd like to do is see this as being an area that would be attractive to hikers and bicyclists from far away. Bring a national bicycle route through Bedford and build a walkway from the station here over to where the Milwaukee is.
The Milwaukee Vonnegut is talking about is the Milwaukee Road Transportation Trailway, a crushed limestone path that starts near downtown Bedford and will eventually stretch 20 miles through southwest Indiana, which could potentially make repurposing this historic Monon Station an ideal economic development project for Lawrence County.
Being able to attach to the trail and make the building activated with something going on inside. The statistics show that people who are on foot or on bike tend to spend more money when they go by places.
If we could figure out a way to bring an adaptive reuse of this historic structure to the community, this really could become a locus for activity in the community that could drive further economic development and redevelopment in this section of downtown. This is one of the great limestone buildings of Indiana, and for that reason we very much want to see it stay here.
So what's the status of Bedford's Monon Station now? Well, I talked to Greg Sakula of Indiana Landmarks. He tells me a potential investor paid a visit to the site just this week. He also said it will take about $1 million to completely restore the structure.
Remember, you can catch Inside Indiana Business Television on stations throughout the state every weekend. Head to InsideIndianaBusiness.com to check listings. Ascend Indiana has raised more than $23 million to enhance its network job platform and expand statewide. That news breaking just last week. The online job platform helps job seekers find work or an internship or training opportunities in Indiana. Ascend Indiana CEO Jason Kloth and Roche Diagnostics Head of People and Culture Bridget Boyle joined us to discuss the expansion.
Hey, Jason, we'll start with you. This is a big announcement. Ascend Indiana, which is essentially the talent initiative of the Central Indiana Corporate Partnership, has been largely focused in Central Indiana. $23 million plus you've raised and are going to expand that platform statewide.
Yeah, we are immensely grateful to have raised that nearly $24 million from philanthropy, employers, and other partners. The lead gift from the Lilly Endowment is just extraordinarily generous, and it's going to enable us to expand that network beyond our current effort, which is supporting approximately 550 employers in Central Indiana. We've been able to provide one-on-one career navigation to more than 12,000 individuals, securing 20,000 applications to Indiana employers, and ultimately connecting more than 2,500 of those to work-based learning opportunities and jobs. And so this funding is really going to enable us to reach a a fundamentally different scale statewide and supporting thousands more individuals and employers.
Hey, Jason, give us a thumbnail description of Ascend Indiana in this model, because it's unique in the country. You're starting to get a lot of national attention. How's the platform essentially work?
Sure. So the platform allows us to profile companies, making that company visible to a job seeker, regardless of where they are in the state of Indiana. And then we profile their internships, their apprenticeships, their job opportunities, and we capture the technical skills and work style requirements for those jobs. We then partner with higher education institutions, community-based organizations. We meet with those job seekers and we capture those technical skill and work style preferences. And then ultimately, because we're gathering that information, we help make a match and a connection. Think of it as the eHarmony for jobs here in Indiana.
That's a great description. Bridget Boyle-Roche is certainly a major employer, an important employer in our state. And you've been a supporter of Ascend Indiana from the beginning. And I know we were talking off camera. You say the results have really been extraordinary in terms of getting interns and, importantly, getting people, getting employees there at Roche.
We've been partnered with Ascend from the very beginning, I'm really proud to say. And what they help us do is they help us be able to sell what Roche does, the types of careers that we have. And then they find the ideal candidates, help them sell themselves as what their strengths are. And then they enhance and increase the stickiness for us. And so we're getting nearly half of our college student candidates from Ascend now for our internship programs and entry-level hires. They also focus on diverse hires. And so obviously they know that is a priority for us, is that we want to grow the diversity in our organization. And they have a much broader reach than we would have on our own. Yeah, quickly, Bridget, too, in this environment where talent is the market is so tight, I've got to assume these services are big for companies like yours. Oh, it's huge. We don't have a large college recruiting team. And so what Jason and his team do is, again, they're the arms and legs out there on the various college and university campuses, and utilizing this tool, they can talk to so many more candidates than we can. Hey, Jason, we only have 15 seconds. Bridget touched on this diversity, and so many of the candidates that you come in contact with come from underrepresented populations.
Yeah, more than 48% of the individuals that we've provided support to come from underrepresented backgrounds. That's first-generation college students, students of color, students from low-income socioeconomic backgrounds. And this is a priority for the business community across Central Indiana and the state, as evidenced by the Business Equity for Indy Committee. And we're fully committed to helping to diversify the workforce here in Central Indiana and work towards a more economically mobile society.
Ascend Indiana, a unique job platform getting national attention, now expanding on a statewide basis. Jason Kloth from Ascend, also Bridget Boyle from Roche Diagnostics. Thank you both for being here. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks so much.
Later in the podcast, we'll get details on big changes to Ball State's College of Communication, Information, and Media, and Purdue University is helping student athletes benefit from their name, image, and likeness. But now, artificial intelligence is becoming a bigger part of our lives with each passing day, and now it could power your workout. A new fitness studio in Indianapolis says machine learning can help make you sweat. Business of Health reporter Kylie Valletta has more.
Entrepreneur Magazine ranks The Exercise Coach as the #1 fastest growing personal training franchise in the U.S. 5 of the high-tech fitness studios have now opened in the Hoosier State, including a new location in Broad Ripple in Indianapolis. Andrea Heiner is the studio owner at The Exercise Coach in Broad Ripple, and she joins me now to explain how AI has made its way to the workout world. Hi, Andrea. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thanks for inviting me today.
Sure. Let's start with the science. The Exercise Coach is built on this concept that you really only need 20 minutes of working out 2 times per week. So can you explain the science behind that?
Sure. So, we all have a Fitbit, we have smartphones, we have cars that park themselves. So why not AI and exercise? It just makes a lot of sense. And they've been working on this science for about 20 years. In order to get to the equipment to where it is today. There's a big difference between activation and activity, and we believe in activation. And what the Exerbotics does, which is the equipment that we use that is artificially intelligent, is really figures out how to, and it really is designed to target the part of the muscle that then actually creates the long-term muscle. There's different parts, but it really focuses on that. And it can do what happens with the artificial intelligence and the robotics is when you get on the equipment, you really actually, it focuses on that and targets on that so that it works that to full fatigue in 5 to 8 reps. And because of that, it then builds the muscle.
So interesting.
And it
go ahead.
In 20 minutes times a week.
So you mentioned the equipment is called Exerbotics. So these are machines that we're not traditionally used to seeing at a gym or in a fitness studio. Explain how they're different and how data and artificial intelligence really plays a role in how these machines help you get your workout.
So the Exerbotics are a robotic, and what they do is we don't use weights. We use electromagnetic motors that creates the ideal resistance, and that's how it all comes together. So the way from an artificial intelligence perspective and the data is real-time feedback during the exercise and after the exercise. And so in order to get an individual started, we actually invite them in for 2 free sessions. And there's really a purpose for that. Number one, there are different sensations, different feedback, and we want to introduce them to the equipment. But more importantly, we want to introduce the equipment to them. And that's where the data really comes in. We actually set them up on a range of motion, which protects their joints. And then, unlike gyms where you're trying to guess how much weight to use, we actually assess fitness and strength so that when you get on the equipment and you start to work out, it's collecting data from you constantly. And so it literally creates the ideal right workout for you personally. And then every time you get on, it continues to collect that data and it continuously challenges you so that you just get stronger and stronger.
Like all AI, the more information you give it, the better it gets. So you opened your location in Broad Ripple. There's 2 other locations in the central Indiana area, one in Carmel, one in Fishers. Explain why you chose the Broad Ripple location in particular.
Well, I'm a Hoosier. I've been here for a long time. I chose Broad Ripple because it's a dynamic, active community, very diverse. I love the fact that there are some old, beautiful neighborhoods, well established, and then there's this whole different bright light and active life downtown. We've opened a month ago, and I can't tell you how many people have walked by. It's such an active community that is truly focused on being healthy and well as well.
And the Exercise Coach is ranked the #1 fastest growing franchise in the U.S. in personal training. So you do fall into that personal training category. And that, you said, really kind of gets at the heart of what you do, which is focused on individualized attention. Can you talk just a little bit about that?
Sure. So our coaches are certified. Both of my coaches are also degreed. But we have a small, clean facility that typically there's only 2 clients and 2 coaches, and so they're very, very focused on them.
I understand you are partly a believer in this because you have personal experience. Tell me just quickly, we only have a few seconds left, how your personal experience inspired you to open this studio.
So I, just like everybody else who walks in here, don't have time or had injuries, and so I got started. Used to jump up and go to the gym in the morning and do what everybody else does. Found this and realized that in just 2 20-minute sessions per week, it changed my total muscle structure. It changes my emotional energy. It does all of that. And so I'm just delighted to be open in Broad Ripple and to share this gift of strength with all those around me.
Esports is no longer a hobby played on a laptop in the basement. It's big business, and Ball State University is upping its game to prepare the esports workforce of the future. A new state-of-the-art esports center has opened on the Muncie campus, and the university recently rolled out a new program specifically designed for students interested in careers in esports. Those aren't the only changes within Ball State's College of Communication, Information, and Media, and Dean Paige Turner joined Gary Dick with more.
Lots happening, certainly in the College of Communication, Information, and Media, kind of the umbrella, if you will, for a number of programs. Talk about, first of all, some name changes within the unit and what prompted those name changes.
So we have 2 units that have changed their names. The Department of Journalism is now the School of Journalism and Strategic Communication. Because when we think about a school, that's helping elevate a professional status. It's sort of the standard in the industry and education, if you will. In addition, when we did surveys of our alumni and industry partners, they wanted to know, where does strategic communication fit into the curriculum? That would include our advertising and our PR students. And we've gone one step further and integrated those together. And then we've wrapped project management skills into every class in that school. So that has changed their names. And then also the Department of Telecommunications. Our students were facing some challenges because we're not AT&T. We are teaching them cutting edge media and audio and video technology and storytelling. And now we know that resumes go through an artificial intelligence search. And if you don't have the right words, you get kicked to the back of the line. And we wanted to make sure that our students' resumes go to the top of the line. So now they're the Department of Media.
Yeah, I think it's a very smart move, really reflective of more of the modern business world and how things are really done these days. A number of other changes, as I said, programmatically. Also, public broadcasting is under the school as well. How's that going to play out?
This is a really exciting step forward, both for our community and their information needs and for our students' educational needs. So public media has now become part of CCIM. We are going to partner with our student media, our educational experiences in public media, to make sure that we are delivering information, stories, entertainment that our community needs, as well as providing students with the best educational experience possible. So let's say an idea becomes of importance to our community. That can be told as part of our daily newspaper, which is celebrating their anniversary this year. It can then go out through PBS, or it could become part of a student curricular experience. So we're very excited that they're going to be joining us. And I think it's going to make us a better partner to our community. Yeah,
Ball State, as mentioned in the introduction, really engaging in the esports revolution that we're seeing take place around the country. You have a new esports center there. And importantly, which I find interesting as well, is you're wrapping in an esports production focus on Ball State, at Ball State as well. Talk about the whole connection to esports and that as a growth area.
So I really appreciated you saying that it's not something that's happening in the basement room. So this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's something that I've had to get used to. It is today's sport. And when we think about the sports and the sports economy and the reputation that Indiana has in the sports industry, we want to help Indiana own that. And that means being part of community play. We have Muncie Community Schools come in and they get to play in the facility. We have club sports. We have over 700 members who are part of our club sport just for entertainment. We have varsity competition play as part of the new ESC. That's our esports for our MAC competition. And then, as you mentioned, in our new Department of Media, we have an esports production area where students learn how to do live sports production on an esports platform. But we haven't stopped there because Ball State University understands that esports is a broader industry. So we're working with the Miller College of Business on finance in esports industry, with our College of Health on health and psychology around esports. So we have people coming in to train and work with our esports varsity team members to help them get their mental game in shape and to perform better that way as well. So it is massive. We are part of a collaboration with Harana Data in Indiana Sports Corp. We just had the esports combine where last year we had about 1,000 participants. This year, there were 14,000.
Wow.
And that's just going to get bigger.
Change, lots of change. An understatement at Ball State's College of Communication, Information, and Media. Dean Paige Turner. Paige, thank you so much. This has been very informative. Look forward to following up on some of these stories.
Thank you. And we are just so grateful to be able to support Indiana.
Very good. Thanks, Paige.
Still ahead, learn how an Indianapolis high school student has taken the initiative with a Women in Business Club. But first, Purdue University is the latest to officially align with the Brander Group to assist its student athletes in taking advantage of the NCAA's rules regarding name, image, and likeness. Bill Benner has more in this week's Inside Indiana Sports.
The Boilermaker Athletic Department announced last week an agreement with the Brander Group, which will facilitate athletes in all 18 sports to individually or collectively produce income or benefits above and beyond their athletic scholarships. Joining us today to discuss is Peyton Stovall, Purdue's Assistant Athletic Director for Student Athlete Development. And Peyton, we welcome you to the program, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I look forward to talking a little NIL.
Well, and NIL is it's a new three-letter magic term in student athletes. But again, this is where we're going as of this past July when the NCAA approved student athletes being able to generate income. Just talk about this agreement with the Brander Group and how you will begin to roll it out among the 600 student athletes at Purdue.
Yeah, so the Brander Group, it's a brand management, marketing and licensing agency with a broad experience and an expertise in sports. So we're excited to partner with them, with our student athletes and our institution here at Purdue. TBG is short for the Brander Group. The partners they're prominent. So they work with prominent brands, colleges, sponsors, corporate trademarks, and athletes and events, and they do this to cultivate more opportunities. So we're excited that they're going to be part of our team. They're going to help us when it comes to group licensing. So the ability for our student athletes to opt in, we always give them the option, but they are going to opt in if they choose to do so into these group license deals where they can, profit on some passive income. So things that they don't have to do because, as a student athlete, you already have academics and athletics, and then we want them to have a social life as well. So that right there is a full-time job. The more we can assist and help them realize and monetize their name, image, likeness through some passive income is what we want to do. So we're teaming with them as well as Altius Sports, and Altius Sports is assisting us in education for the student athletes when it comes to all name, image, likeness.
Yeah, and Peyton, this is a kind of an outgrowth. You already had a program in place called Empower, and I know you're doing job placement, you're doing intern placement, and so again, this is more than about performance on the field or the court. This is about preparing student athletes for the next phases of their lives.
Yeah, and that's what Purdue, it really hangs their hat on, right? And that's why I'm so proud to work for this university because, we're not only about the next 4 years, we're about the next 40 years. How are we preparing them for life after sport? Now with the name, image, likeness in its current state, we have to start preparing them at this moment. So we've done our best, and Purdue Athletics has really thrived on being able to empower our student athletes. And that's what our program is, what we stand for. And again, it's just about growth, having that growth mindset in everything you do. So when it comes to professional growth, your career, your career growth, your community service, your personal growth, and that community service as well. So we want to teach them to be great servant leaders. And all of that is going to develop their name, image, and likeness, their brand, their authentic brand. We believe that right there is going to help them when it comes to monetizing their NIL.
Peyton, you were a student athlete, an outstanding basketball player at Ball State. And again, back in the early 2000s, the world has changed. But put on your student athlete hat for a moment, if you could. And would you have loved to have the opportunity that NIL now offers for you, like you personally, back when you were a student athlete?
Well, I appreciate you reminding me that it was early 2000, right? So, Bill, we'll talk about that later, right? No, but just this opportunity, the chance to monetize your name, image, likeness is a huge step in college athletics. We've seen, where there's been that gray area of what you can and can't do, and now it's open, and we have to familiarize ourselves, and organizations have to stop looking at it as this is a bad thing. It's a good thing for our student athletes. It's not only for making money, but we're seeing a lot of our kids who are finding ways to give to charities. And be philanthropic about what they're doing. You'll start to see a lot of that come to fruition here in the next weeks from our men's basketball program. And there's a lot of individuals who don't see this as only an opportunity for them to make money, but to really have the entrepreneurial mindset that a Purdue student athlete is going to have as a Purdue student. You're the best and the brightest. So this is an opportunity for them to really grow in this space, and it's exciting to lead it.
Well, Peyton, we certainly appreciate you coming on the show and offering your perspectives. The Assistant Athletic Director for Student Athlete Development at Purdue. And Boiler Up, thanks for being on the program.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
And finally, you might want to remember the name Alessandra Appel. She's a budding business star, a senior at North Central High School. She founded the Women in Business Club there and then hit pay dirt. Alessandra managed to get LeBron James's boss, Los Angeles Lakers owner Jeannie Buss, to speak to the club about her business journey in basketball and women's professional wrestling. She joined the show with more on the club.
I want to talk about your really high-profile interview in a moment. But first of all, your idea to form this Women in Business Club at North Central High School. I guess it's only been around a year, but you're really passionate about this. What gave you the idea, the impetus to really start this club?
So it started when I'd always had an interest in business, but what really bothered me is like in class when you discuss like future career paths, none of my other female peers would ever mention business. And I always wondered why. And then during COVID, when we were at home, virtual, bored, I listened to a podcast called How I Built This. And I would always listen to the female speakers and their stories. And those were the ones that I was really interested in. And then I would send them to my friends, and it surprised me that a lot of my friends loved it and like kept listening to it. And so I just decided what if we had a club similar to this at North Central? I bet it would interest a lot of other girls too.
Yeah, you're the class salutatorian, international baccalaureate program there at North Central. So the response was really good because you've got a membership now in this Women in Business Club of 70 of your classmates are participating?
Yes, 70.
Yeah, that's big. Okay, let's talk about what you do at these meetings, because this is not just a kind of an informal deal. Sounds like you have a real structure. You have breakout sessions and workshops and things. Talk about what you do at your meetings.
So we have 3 different types of meetings. One of them is, the speaker meetings where these higher profile women come and speak to us, usually via Zoom, and we listen and then we do a Q&A with them. But the other meetings we do are workshops and discussions. So for workshops, we'll choose a business skill that isn't something usually taught in school, like time management or networking. And we bring in a female business person to help teach us that lesson. And then sometimes we'll also do discussions where we send out articles, podcasts, and then we meet to discuss them.
Okay, you talk about high-profile speakers. You nabbed a really high-profile speaker here in the last few weeks, and Jeannie Buss, the owner of the Los Angeles Lakers. I know you did a Zoom interview and conversation with her. Tell us what that was like.
So it was a Sunday morning. She joined us, and we had almost all 70 members as well on the Zoom. And it was just a fireside chat conversation. So I was just asking her questions about her career and mainly focused on, the beginning of her career and how she got started and her path to the Lakers. And she was great. She was super relaxed, super nice, personable. And then at the end, we had a good one-on-one Q&A session with her where it was all questions by members.
Yeah. Anything stick out to you? You mentioned she's relaxed. I have to imagine it was a real thrill for you to do that and a lot of fun. Were you nervous at all?
Yeah, I was definitely nervous going into it. I mean, she's just so high profile. And then the more I researched her, the more, I admired her. And so I think what really just surprised me is how disarming she is. She got on the Zoom very relaxed on her iPad. And she was super nice. She wanted to meet a few girls in the club before we got started. And afterwards, she stuck around to chit chat a little bit.
Yeah. And hey, one thing I should mention too, you formed this club during the pandemic. So you had to do it. You had to get this organized all virtually. So that had to be a bit of a challenge too, right?
That was definitely a challenge. But I think it's something that kids my age are used to. You know, we did virtual school for almost a year. So I think we were well adapted to starting a club virtually as well.
Yeah. Really exciting and a great story, I think. Alessandra Appel forming the Women in Business Club at North Central. I think we'll probably have some business superstars maybe graduating from that club in future years. We'll keep an eye out for that. Alessandra, thanks very much and good luck going forward.
Okay, thank you.
That wraps up this week's Inside Indiana Business Television podcast. Remember, you can find all of this week's TV segments as well as the top business news from throughout the state at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. While you're there, you can also subscribe to our platform of free e-newsletters. This is Alex Brown for Inside Indiana Business.